7 are largely procedural. So I'm going to take a risk and move them all together, and seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Right? Is there anybody so desperate they want to have a discussion about any of these things? No. All right, I'll move those. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye to the contrary. Carried. Righto. Now we'll move through the numbers and number thing. Next one's number 10.1. Update on committees. I'll move this. Andy Baker will second that one. Councillor Baker. Right, there's 2 years left of this term, and I want to make sure Auckland and the council are in much better shape. It means assembling a leadership team who are champions of Auckland, ready to meet the challenges of our city. At the start of this term, I said I'd review committee structures and work programs before work began on the long-term plan. The time is now, and we implement the Auckland deal. As we do that, embed transport reform and set land use planning under Plan Change 120. Aucklanders need our strongest performing councils and leadership positions. The councils of the whole require proper leadership to deliver transport, PC 120, LTP and the Auckland deal. Thanks to Leslie Simpson for her pragmatic leadership, both as Deputy Mayor and Chair of Value for Money, Lead Council for Tātaki and Champion for Arts and Culture, plus our new councillors who are already making strong contributions. Where earlier points haven't worked out or expectations haven't been met, I'll make changes and lead a team ready to work hard. This is the first time Auckland has had a trained accountant in charge of its budget committee, believe it or not. We're regional governors, not just the bigger local boards. Small decisions like shade sales and paver colours should be left to local boards. They know their communities best. I'll always be open to working with anyone who brings fresh ideas and acts constructively on regional priorities. We've got councillors from across the political spectrum here, and while we may hold differing reviews, we'll disagree agreeably and vote based on common sense rather than political stripes. It's a stark contrast to Wellington politics, and it's something Auckland should be proud of. With a bit of perspective, we can make sharper, wiser judgments of our city. So, I'll take any questions at that stage, as soon as I'm presenting this. Councillor Gillen, please.
Well, thank you. I'll be blunt. Can you go through and please advise your reasoning behind the proposed demotion of each of the councillors that are receiving a demotion today?
Sorry, I just sneezed. Could you just say that again, just as you were talking?
Can you please go through your reasoning for the demotion of each of the councillors that are proposed to receive a demotion today?
Well, I think I just went through my reasoning. I just decided to pick on what I think is that it gives me the best team to promote things for the next stage this year when we're doing these. That's it. That is the reason.
Okay, follow-up question.
Nothing personal.
You mentioned on call to me yesterday that my attendance at the community meeting in Devonport in the weekend, that you weren't too happy about. No, it's entirely. Did you want to elaborate on that?
That's got nothing to do with this at all. I mean, everyone's entitled to attend whatever meetings you wish to attend to. So good on you for going to Devonport. I've got probably different views about that, but you're entitled to go there perfectly well. Good way to show yourself to the public in Devonport. Nice picture. Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was at a meeting yesterday in West Auckland, and Councillor Henderson was there with me, and I'd seen that it had already been publicised, these changes, and I said to Councillor Henderson, kind of congratulations, or you know, you've got another job. And he did say to me, yeah, I'm going to be working damned hard, and I know he will be. But, sorry? Damned hard, yeah. We've just had everyone talking this morning, including Councillor Henderson, about capacity and how much we can do, you know. Sitting by his shoulder there is, who's not at the moment, but usually, is Councillor Williamson, who has a lot to offer, including being in government, the Minister of Transport for 3 years. Do you think that loading all the work on one person is fair and reasonable for that one person? And do you think that maybe not involving the other person with obvious skills in those areas and a proven track record is shortcutting, Aucklanders on who they sent forward for you that they thought had the attributes they wanted you to work with?
I don't think that Henderson's got the thing all right. Everything he's been to, Baker's been to. And in 3 months' time, the former Minister of Transport will take my place on the Auckland Regional Transport Committee. I just want to be there just to make sure it starts properly, as the only person who's actually been on a Regional Transport Committee. So that's a fair assessment of it.
There's in no way do I mean any disrespect to the people who have taken on new roles, but it says on the executive summary here that looking forward to the things we have to achieve, like Plan Change 120. There was and has been a robust debate around this table, because myself in particular are coming here with an understanding, my understanding of the public's requirements, what they want me to bring here. I paid for my own report, which said that only 614 people out of the 10,550 who sent in submissions supported Plan Change 120 outright. I take an inference out of the wording in that you're looking for a unanimity. You want people there who are going to agree in these seats.
Not at all, but people who've got a real interest in that and work hard on those things there. And Mr. Hills has been in charge of that sector and showed an inordinate interest in planning. Not a subject which fills joy to everybody, but and good on him for that. And everybody's got their input around the table. No one's restricted from speaking and giving their view. But in terms of the direction of Plan Change 120 to intensify along the already unbelievably expensive rail and bus links that we've got, makes a lot of sense to me and to a lot of people. And in fact, I campaigned as part of my thing saying that we wanted to do that. We've now got this city rail link. We'll never pay for it if we don't have people living there who are going to catch it. And so it seems to me inordinately sensible, and an awful lot of people thought I was on the right track.
Just one last question then. You had said in the media yesterday that this was all, the adjustments came because of merit, suggesting that the ones who lost jobs, maybe there was some merit that they didn't perform up to or something. Councillor Ginnam's just asked you that. The one thing they all have in common is being supporters of the proposed 5.9% rate increase, the question. Is there a reason for that, do you think?
Is there a reason for them supporting 5.9?
Well, the only commonality is that they were all people who posed an alternative to your last rate rise.
Well, that can happen. People are capable of supporting or opposing.
Well, thank you, and I'll oppose today. Thank you.
Councillor Watson?
Yeah, thanks. So just picking up on a couple of the questions there, because this is obviously quite an important matter, the future leadership of Auckland Council over what's usually the remainder of the term. So I was trying to follow all the communications yesterday between press releases put out by the ratepayer-funded media advisors and then a spurge of articles. So if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'll ask you the first question. In one of I think it was New Zealand Herald, you said that the council appointments are based solely on performance. Solely on performance, is that correct?
Well, that's my judgment of it.
Okay. So usually in any situation where, you have concerns with people's performance or, there's some semi-employment situation, which this is, if someone's not performing or performing less than you'd like, you usually tell them in one shape or another. So I guess my question would be, what was the requests or the instructions you gave to the people who were demoted in terms of their performance failures or inadequacies or however like you might deframe it? What was your communications with them in terms of their failure to perform, given that these appointments are all based solely on performance?
Well, I was quite clear to the public of Auckland the direction I wanted to take the council, and the public of Auckland were very clear in the fact that that's where they wanted to go. And so those people who have supported that direction, that's good performance, and people who have not supported that direction, not such good performance.
So by that I mean supporting the performances, whether you voted for your rates increase or not. Is that it? Is that the guts of it?
That's a part of it. Part of it, but if you want to go in a certain direction and you announce that direction, those people and that direction is very popular, and that's what you said you would do, and that's what I said I would do.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind that a year before, after an extensive consultation, a long-term plan came up with what we voted for this year. There was nobody at the last election unaware that we were going to have 7.9% this year, other than people who hadn't noticed that we said we'd have 7.9% this year. And that was voted for by a large majority of the people, and so following along from those things, it's quite a simple thing to do. That's the direction in which you go.
Yeah.
Like the All Blacks want to score more against South Africa, and those people who help the scoring will get rewarded, and those people who don't want to help the scoring won't. It's as simple as that.
I think you're mixing up performance with voting a certain way. That seems to me. I mean, I just wonder how a vote on an annual plan relates to a deputy chair of a regulatory committee or a deputy chair of a community committee or a deputy chair of anything else. I can't quite see the connection between the two. I thought there'd be other qualities you might be looking for in terms of leadership or deputy leadership of committees, and you'd be able to draw a distinction between whether people just vote the way that you want. Do you draw that distinction?
I'm sorry you can't see that, but I can.
You can see it, okay. As far as the chairing goes, do you think that it's important to have people with good chairing skills? Like, so when you weigh up whether to appoint people to be a chair or not, do you see the ability to chair a committee, that's a consideration you take into account? And the reason I bring that up is that obviously there has been a change with one of the chairs, and that person, without blowing his trumpet too much, is generally seen as being one of the better, if not the best, chairs of a council committee. So is chairing skill something you bring into account when you weigh this all up?
Well, chairing is part of it. I mean, part of it is leadership, part of it is contributing, part of it is the work that you do behind, part of it is helping on otherwise develop policies which are worth chairing for. And so it is part of it, but it's not elaborate. It's not a sitting here at a microphone contest. There's more to it than that.
One of the other questions I think was raised in one of the newspaper articles was the extent to which the demotions or promotions, or however you want to characterise it, revolved around some of the people who were exposing or making complaints about the litany of misconduct, both alleged and actual, during the month of July, where hardly a week went past when there was some other revelation to do with bullying or a toxic culture. Did that enter into your calculations at all?
No, not at all, because I was unaware of all that stuff, actually. I hadn't actually seen any examples of bullying, but no. That's,
so if you hadn't seen it, but do you take what other people say as something? Do you have to witness it firsthand, or do you listen? These are all your councillors, they're all under your council. Do you listen to what other people say in respect when they say they're being treated inappropriately? Is that something you weigh up in this dispersal of committees and judgments on performance?
I think one listens to all 20 contributors around the table, plus people outside. It's a broad base. I am influenced by the business community, the sports community, even via the Deputy Mayor, the arts community. We are here for the public, not necessarily here for each other in that regard, but yes, you take into account all of these things. It's a bit like the selection of a team. You're just looking at who fits in well and how it goes. And the selector gets to select. I'm sure that the current All Black selector's got one or two people who are quite grumpy about him as well, but he's got to make a selection.
Yeah, I guess if we can continue that analogy of a team, and it's a good analogy, is that if you have the leadership of a team, if you want to get the best out of a team, you're looking for encouragement or people to see fair play or people are treated appropriately. You don't end up having a very good All Black team or Te Papa team if you have accusations of bullying and people getting dropped because they don't do what the captain says, or the most skillful players being left on the subs bench. I don't think that probably would make for a very good team. So I guess what qualities of leadership do you look for in terms of, ensuring fair treatment and respect and all those noble sentiments that we hear talked about around this table? I mean, does that figure in? Is there people in your team who you look to be the guarantors of keeping everyone on side and bringing out the best in people and making sure people are treated fairly? Does that come into your calculations?
I think you've laid it very well. That is exactly what we're trying to do, and thank you for laying it out so well. And when you do play for a team, you generally do what the captain says, even sometimes when you're told to play in the middle of the scrum and you want to be the number 8, if the captain has the position to do that, and one follows the leadership there. I think you've described leadership very well. Thank you very much for that. Good speech.
I don't think Adam Dewey at the West Tigers would necessarily agree with that, but that's another story. Final question along this line, though, Mr. Mayor, and it was again another one of your quotes, and just in terms of, I guess, this whole process, and you said that because I'm an engineer, we lack empathy, but we're very good at getting things done and telling the truth, and I think particularly of that last phrase. So, telling the truth is something you would really hold as being a hallmark of your decisions and your calculations in this matter, is it?
Yeah, well, my father told me to tell the truth because that's the way you can remember what you said.
Yeah. Final question, because I don't want to hog the questioning, and you're being quite helpful in your responses, and it goes to the transport appointments. And I noticed at point 16 you talk about the people, and again, like Councillor Turner, no aspersions on the people mentioned here, about the people who bring significant experience in the transport sector. And it prompted me to think, in terms of that experience in the transport sector, Mr. Mayor, if you ask ChatGPT or anything about some of your councillors as to what their experience is, the two that stand out, and I won't name them to embarrass them, but in the first instance, both of these people had, and quote unquote, unusually deep transport backgrounds compared with many Auckland councillors. Much of their reputations was built around major transport policy rather than simply voting on transport matters. One was regarded as the principal political champion of Auckland's rail revival, leading the push for electrification of Auckland's rail network, campaigning successfully for the Onehunga line, strong advocacy for the City Rail Link, which is due to open up soon, and that was only a number of that individual's contributions to transport. The other person's legacy centred on transforming Auckland's downtown transport system during her time as mayor, delivering the Britomart Transport Centre, preserving Auckland's rail corridors, supporting Auckland's rail renaissance, and again being a central figure in the CRL. So when I look at expertise or track record in the sector, it'd be hard to beat those two, wouldn't it?
Well, I didn't actually ask ChatGPT anything. I've just made my own assessments on how it works in terms of a group. But in terms of track record in transport, I don't know quite what it said about me, but I mean, I have chaired the Land Transport Safety of New Zealand. I have designed roads, I have built roads, I have owned roads, I have sold roads, I have traded in roads. And our problem is in the road side of it rather than the public transport side of it. And that's where the main complaints were with the public over that. They're not the actual passenger transport has had quite, but you're quite right. There have been excellent contributions by people before me, and that's a good thing as well. And that balances the whole team around us. Yeah. And so I'm aware of all those things, but I haven't relied on AI yet. For this, I'm trying to use sort of AI in its old fashion of actual intelligence rather than artificial
intelligence. I don't think you have to rely on AI. Just go and look at the records of the Auckland Regional Council and the Auckland City Council. And the reason I bring it up is because there is a doubling up here. So we have people who are both chair and deputy chair of the Transport Committee, and good on them. They're doing a good job there. And then they're also doubling up as members of this Auckland Regional Transport Committee. Don't you think there was an opportunity there to share the love a bit, given how big transport is for every ward across Auckland? Wasn't there an opportunity to draw on that wider expertise and cover off a couple more councillors? Wouldn't that have been a useful road to take?
That's a point to raise. The Auckland Regional Transport Committee, we haven't had one yet. I have been on one.
So have I, mate.
Yeah, well, that's good on you. And
a real one. A real one.
Okay, final question.
And we're not sure yet whether that will be entirely separate or the same, just to the thing. But things sort of don't go wrong here, they start wrong. So I'm kind of interested in being involved in that myself at the start, because it was largely as a result of my driving that we've actually got the change away from AT. And so I want to be in at the start, but after 2 or 3 months, I'll step aside and Councillor Williamson will take my place on that and bring into play his skill set. And so that's what's proposed.
Final question, and it goes to the notion of pretty much everything I've tried to solicit a response about in respect of, performance and neutrality and reflecting the desire to push Auckland ahead and any number of other cliches. But I'd just be curious, Mr. Mayor, in the remarkable coincidence that of the 7 councillors who voted either in all or in part to oppose your rates increase, 4 of them have 4 of them had nothing to start off with, and 3 now have joined them. That seems to me a remarkable hit rate for anyone, and to be honest, if we chuck in another thing there, including those people are the people who have been complaining about the toxic culture around this place. Do you find that to be a remarkable coincidence, or just a predictable lineup of poor performance?
Sometimes people who don't get everything they feel they have get a bit grumpy and guilty of toxic culture themselves, and that may be what the coincidence is. I'm not aware of that. I haven't asked each of those people that at all. But teams join together and head in a certain direction. And again, the thing that they voted against was something which was widely canvassed at the long-term plan. And next year's long-term plan says 3.5, and that's what I intend to deliver. And we said 7.9 this year, and that's exactly what we delivered. And so I like to, and I've heard several people talking today about the need for predictability. And there's one thing I am is quite predictable. We said 5.9, and we said 7.9, and we're going to go 3.5, and that's exactly what will happen. And predictability is a good thing. At least I've heard that lots around in the table, although it's sometimes hard to get. Thank you very much for questions.
I just say it might have been widely canvassed. It was also widely unpopular too, which maybe explain the votes of those people who have now been demoted.
Thank you. Councillor Lee, did you have your hand up, or I'm not sure if you did.
I think everyone would be very happy to get this item out of the way as quickly as possible, but I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's two narratives running here, and you're the architect of both of them. One is that you're making these changes because of performance, but you've also made it clear that these people are being punished for not going along with the captain. And so you can't really have it both ways. I think the advice you were given when you were a child is the right one. Tell the truth and shame the devil, but don't make up two stories and act as if you are a dictator of Auckland. This is a democratic organisation, and it's shameful that there seems to be no rights for members who are interested in serving in committee roles and chairs and all that sort of stuff, and I'm not particularly at the present time, that if they vote the wrong way, no matter how dedicated they might be or enthusiastic or how much value or how impressed people are with their performance, and I'm looking at the former or soon-to-be former chair of the Budget Committee, that they're being punished for voting with their conscience, for voting not the way you want, but voting the way their electorate wants. And you find that intolerable, and I think that's particularly unhealthy for yourself and for this organisation. You need to tolerate some dissent, Mr Mayor. You're a mayor, that's it. You're nothing else. You're not a king or a prince. We're meant to be a democratic organisation, and you need to be more tolerant of dissent. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It is definitely a democratic organisation, and I'm democratically elected from all of the areas that you represent. And I have also had feedback from those areas which you represent. I have a question from Councillor Ferris.
Oh, kia ora, Chair. I was just curious about whether you recalled that there were some other councillors who raised some culture issues last term prior to the last election. Do you recall that?
I'm sure there were, but no, I don't dwell on those things, so I can't quite recall. You'll have to fill me in a little bit.
Well, I can tell you that I was one of them in the media with David Fisher, as was Councillor Dalton. Have I been demoted?
No.
No.
Did the right way.
Thank you. And as to the unpopularity of the budget, were there any alternatives put forward in the budget workshops prior to the vote?
No, really, and the main thing that the alternative relied upon was to defer depreciation, which is something that's considered to be most unwise, and so that's the answer to that.
And was that option, even deferring depreciation, something that staff were asked for advice on via the workshops that we were all part of?
It was, and they were advised that that's the most unwise thing to do.
And there was clearly a discussion about that which showed that there wasn't an appetite around the table to do that.
There was indeed.
Yeah. And as to the anti-democratic nature of these changes, have you brought this as an agenda report today, Chair? Have you brought this as an agenda report today, Chair?
Yes, I have.
And are we going to vote on this shortly?
I'm hoping so.
Okay, that seems pretty democratic to me. Thank you.
Councillor Turner again.
Thank you for letting me have a second go, Mr. Mayor. Two things. I don't want to relitigate our meeting the other day about who said what over the budget, but I do just want to let you know that I did send through questions and proposal. The last 2-page response I got from Ross came the evening before the meeting, and I didn't see it until after the meeting the next day because I was working on other stuff as well. But, you know, that had proposals about grants and borrowings, and I had questions answered in the $49 million range by Ross. So I just wanted to say that there was people who put forward considerations and proposals. The system is so slow that it didn't show through in this discussion here. So that, but the other thing I just wanted to say.
Sure, they'll be welcome this coming year, anyhow, if they're that good.
Yep,
So
yeah,
we're looking for another $106 million of savings. So contributions such as yours, and you voted against the thing and have not been demoted in any way.
Well, I lost it all when the term started. Anyway, thank you. Anyway, my question is, do you agree that this is not Team Council, but Team Auckland? And the difference in this team compared to the teams you're kind of describing is that everyone around this table, including the good people who've got new positions, they've been put here by other people who've chosen them, not you, and that really you're here as a referee rather than a captain.
Well, I'm here as the most voted for person by a long, long way in the country. So I think I take some comfort from that. And I actually was voted on the clear policies which I laid out. And I suggested to some of the government, if they had clear policies, they might find themselves in a landslide victory rather than the place they find themselves now. But there you go. But I am both of those things, elected right across the district, plus put by the position of being the mayor into the position to make the selections of the best people for the best job that I see fit. And I have done that. But thank you very much for the question, because those are good questions.
And thank you for the cordial reply. Thank you.
Councillor Henderson.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. It's especially uncomfortable to be asking questions about yourself. But look, I just want you to confirm with me, Mr. Mayor, if you can, that we began this term with a discussion where you asked me to focus pretty much solely on transport, and that this new role here, which I'm very thankful for, is a reflection of that conversation.
Well, I think that's very good. And yes and yes. And Mr. Hills, beside you, was asked to take up the rather unattractive subject of planning and has done the same thing. And Councillor Fletcher has picked up the ball and run hard with the fund, and I appreciate that. And so I think around the table it's pretty good. I should imagine if one visited Parliament, they would be very envious of the team playing that's going on here. But nevertheless, thank you for that question. Are there any more questions? Because I don't have any, in which case I'll put the vote. Sorry, Councillor Burns, a late question.
Little thing's not working. There we go. Thank you. And first of all, I'd just like to congratulate Victoria, Sarah, and Matt on their announcement. That's great, and I look forward to seeing you flourishing in those new roles. Thank you for calling me yesterday before the announcement. I appreciate your phone call. So my question is quite clear. In our conversation, you mentioned that my behaviour and my bad behaviour was a consequence of your decision, and that if I was a good counsellor, that you would reinstate me in some sort of role in the future. So because I haven't been at school or primary school for a long time, I was just wondering what constitutes being a well-behaved counsellor and a good counsellor that you would look to reinstate me in a role in the future. Thank you.
Well, you might like to copy the positive behaviours that have resulted in good results elsewhere. I mean, it's not up to me to actually determine exactly that, but there is, and I will be doing this again between now and when I finish. And so, and there have been people who have gone up and down and up. It's a team thing rather than anything else. And so that's the answer to that.
Thank you. So, as a business owner, I'm very big on team and collaboration and leadership, so I understand. But it hasn't quite answered my question. So, what exactly do I need to do to be a well-behaved councillor and a good councillor?
I think you've taken the word behaviour a bit strongly there. It's just how's the one contributing? And you've chosen to make your decisions, and decisions have consequences. And so you have to just think about those things.
So that's about voting. Are we clear?
Well, that's one of the things that we do here. We are elected here to make decisions on behalf of the citizens and ratepayers of the city.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm under the understanding to be a good councillor and good behaviour, I have to vote in favour.
Not necessarily, but you have to have sensible, well thought out responses and raise things during the workshops and previous discussions about getting things done. I mean, we're going through the long-term plan, which is named the long-term plan because it takes a bloody long time to get there. And we've made decisions on that today, which will reflect right through the next year until the middle of next year when we finally set the thing up. And so that during that time, all the things that you find important should be raised then, not at the last minute via a late change on the day of the decision. We've got a long time to make decisions so that if you want to have at this stage things which will increase the rate cost next year or reduce them, we've got months and months and months of opportunities to do those things. And I look forward to your contribution because you have a business background which is worth making use of. So I look forward to your contributions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I look forward to it and being part of Value for Money and supporting Desley and on the community committee. And thank you to Nick and Rachel, and I look forward to putting a star chart in my office and welcoming you in to put some stars on my chart for being a well-behaved councillor. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Fletcher hasn't spoken, and then Councillor Lee wants another crack at it.
Thank you. My question is through you, Your Worship, to Phil Wilson. I acknowledge, Phil, that under the legislation, the Mayor's prerogative is to do precisely what he wishes in terms of the appointment of committee chairs and so forth. What I want is the assurance that that will not influence staff and the ability for individual councillors to access staff and the provision of contestable policy advice. So I guess I'm asking you to confirm in this public meeting the level of objectivity and neutrality. I mean, the Mayor's office for his staff to be appointed, but I am asking this solely around the objectivity of all other staff.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm very clear, and the council is very clear, and absolutely committed to supporting all councils, all councillors. Our obligation is to the governing body as a whole, and to all of you individually and collectively as members, and we will be free and frank and independent in our perspective, our professional staff advice, and it's available to all of you equitably.
I appreciate that because it's good to know that it's going to be without fear or favour. Thank you.
Very good question, and I would have been horrified if you hadn't had an answer to it exactly like that. Everybody should have the same access to all the information. It's a matter of asking, and they should get the same answers from the staff who are giving it. Councillor Lee, one more crack.
Yeah, the longer this goes on, the worse it gets. Mr Mayor, am I right from what we heard from Councillor Burns that you called up the councillor and gave her a bit of a lecture about her behaviour, You, of all people, given what's been in the media for the past month, isn't that a double standard?
I didn't give her a lecture, I responded to her questions. Okay, there are no further questions. I shall put the motion. All those in favour?
Division, please.
Sorry? I shall not answer questions. I shall just conduct the debate.
Okay, thanks, Mr Mayor, and I certainly take on board your comment about your own endorsement and the landslide victory that, in your own words anyway, makes you the most popular politician in New Zealand. I would just say, in passing though, that I think Auckland's electoral cycle probably bears more resemblance to that of the far north district council from 2007 to 13, where the incumbent went from a landslide 10,081 plummeted to 2,502, which I think was a 75% decrease, probably one of the biggest defeats and turnaround in local government history. So things can change, Mr Mayor. However, we're here today to look at the appointments, and as I said in my questioning, this is important decisions today, and we have been told via a number of outlets that Aucklanders need our most pragmatic, hard-working councillors in leadership positions to get the job well done. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. We need people wanted to take Auckland forward to make decisions with Auckland's best interest in mind. Well, again, I would hope that would, include everyone that sits around here, because the fact that you vote against something often means you're for something else. Okay, so it's not just a vote or expression of negativity. It can be other values or other solutions have, and I would suggest that in most votes we have around here, that is in fact the case. And it certainly was, I think, for a number of the people who have been treated rather less respectfully than I think a number of them deserve here today. And I think despite comments to the obvious, it's pretty clear that people have been targeted for the way they voted in the annual plan, and other people's instance for their votes, and other, what I'd say, were controversial issues where the people who are making a stand different from the majority are often doing it as a consequence of representations made to them by members of the public. And I thought that was a fundamental role of a councillor and a fundamental role of a healthy democracy, but maybe I'm mistaken. And certainly over the last month in particular, if we're looking for leadership, I don't know that that's been all that apparent if you look around, and there is certainly something rather ironic if we're talking about performance and conduct and behaviour when we look at the veritable litany of misconduct, both alleged and actual, that's surfaced in the papers over the last little while. And I notice some of the people who are quick to make comments today have been noticeably mute when there's been accusations flying around of female councillors being abused in the most foul-mouthed and obscene manner. Didn't hear too many howls of protest there. And that's important because leadership, true leadership, whether it's a sports team or whether it's in a council, comes from people who stand up and speak up for others, for compatriots, for colleagues, whether you agree with them or not. And again, unfortunately, that hasn't been particularly evident around this table. I hope maybe some of the newly appointed people might prove themselves to be different in that respect, but we'll wait and see. And I guess a good example of that was in one of the articles in the otherwise impressive Post, and journalist who writes there was this reference to the seven, not the magnificent seven, the subjugated seven, I think, as being caves. They were called caves. And that acronym apparently stood for constantly, against virtually everything, constantly against virtually everything. And not only is that woefully inaccurate, when I actually saw that acronym, I thought of some other words, and I thought actually they're not the right words that should be in there. And when I reflect on proceedings here today, I think my words is another version of caves, and please feel free to use it, Mr. Mayor, in its press releases. My caves was cronyistic, autocratic, vindictive egomania. And for me, that was a caves that more aptly sums up today's proceedings and the process that we've just been through.
Thank you for that. Caves was actually a thing that came from Gilbert Anoka, the All Black mental health coach. It's not invented by me or anybody else. It's something that comes from Gilbert Anoka, and he found that even in the All Blacks he had caves, and so it's not something that I brought up, invented. Oh well, if the hat fits, wear it. But Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Look, there are very few things the Mayor can do by himself without the vote of others. And choosing committees, saying who's going to lead them, is one of them. And that's what you've done. Look, I'm only going to talk about my Value for Money Committee. I'm delighted to welcome 2 new members of the Value for Money Committee. Councillor Winiata as Deputy. You've got big shoes to fill. Victoria did a very, very good job. And Councillor Gillen, I really welcome you. You've been one of the councillors, along with Matt, who've turned up. I was going to say uninvited. That's not the word. You're invited when you're not part of the committee anyway. And you've already brought some good ideas to the table. So I welcome those 2 people. But the big win for Value for Money that you may or may not have picked while everyone's worrying about who's got a job and a different job or the same job or whatever, is the fact that the Mayor has agreed to put an extra independent person on Value for Money. That is not a councillor, not a staff member, but somebody new. It's a third eye. I think one of the big criticisms out there in the great wide world of Auckland when they look at council and its finances is that I've heard the term, you need a forensic accountant, or I don't think council is doing it hard enough, or I think there's other ways of looking at it. And thank you, Mayor. I really want to thank you because I know that saving money and doing things differently is something that you are passionate about. We've seen that recently with the Better Value projects, knocked off 30 million, and then got a target now of 70 million. So we will have a separate person who will be a separate third eye for council staff and what they're proposing, and I think that will be very positive for Value for Money. That's just my term. Because next year, this year, we have got a huge mountain to climb. You know, our savings budget is 106 million, but arguably it will be double that. We heard today that we have budgeted for 25 million of fuel, and actually staff are already saying that looks 10 to 12 million more, close to 37 million. We know that inflation is tracking higher and interest rates are tracking higher, and that could give us anywhere between $100 and $150 million more to find. Our Value for Money Committee is going to be tough. I want to acknowledge Councillors Bartley, Burns, Ferry, Newman, Sayers, Short, and the 2 Haukura members, along with the 2 new members for Value for Money. And thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to stay and get on with the job because it's going to be tough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Councillor Gillen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, firstly, I appreciate being added to the Value for Money Committee, as Councillor Deputy Mayor has just mentioned, and for her for advocating for me to be there. I've been attending the meetings this term and look forward to being able to fully participate there. However, it is disappointing that the recommendation from the Mayor to remove me from Deputy Chair of Regulatory and Safety seems to have been based on my voting record on matters outside of that committee, rather than the merit on how I performed as Deputy Chair of that committee. It is the responsibility of all councillors to bring to the table differing viewpoints from their wards and not just rubber stamp what is in front of us or what we've been told to support. We should actually be having multiple options put forward by councillors at every significant item, as this is supposed to be a contest of ideas. We shouldn't have group think. No one here should be getting whipped and rewarded with chair positions. That is not good governance. I will continue to represent my ward and their concerns and continue to champion my election promises around this table. And while I appreciate the Mayor giving me a heads up yesterday on his proposal to demote me, it is my recollection of our conversation that he linked the reasoning of the demotion to my voting record and also to my attendance at a community event opposing the fast tracking of 8-storey buildings in Devonport, which is 4 storeys over the unitary plan height limit. I was actually there in my role as a ward councillor, as I should have been, and I note that the Devonport Flagstaff recently had on the front page an article linking the developer to the Mayor's electoral fund, which is a matter of public record, and I really hope that that has nothing to do with it, as that would be very inappropriate. I will leave things there. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Gillen. I don't know if it needs a response, but I did note that you had quite disparaging remarks about the chairperson of that committee, which is not a good position to be as a deputy. But thank you for the debate, everybody. At the moment, I am in a position to put the motion, and it has been called to have a division. So we will have a division, and if those of you who can find your way through the computer, I'm hoping I can, we'll go ahead and take the vote. Really? You've spoken on everything all day long, please.
I don't have to speak then? Fine.
What were you saying? You can't vote on your machine? That's all right. Okay. Thank you. Well, I'm sure if you can send a message somehow or other through the ether, we'll pick up with your yay or nay on this one. Send it out.
Okay, I think the vote is starting now.
Sorry, mine is not working, but I vote for. Thanks. It's Councillor Foley.
Councillor Newman.
Well, I've already sent a message through to say that I'll back it.
Okay, thank you.
What about Alf? My else voted. Fully's voted.
So it's carried 13-8.
Okay, thank you for that. That completes the day, and I'll close the meeting. Thank you for attending. Cheers.